it's a real pleasure and a privilege to be sharing the stage with so many successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. And as the lone nonprofit representative here today, I'm especially honored and humbled to be with you. Well, the story that I want to share with you and my breakthrough moment is really about achieving your career dream, your life's ambition, only to see things come crashing in around you. And it's a story about how sometimes as leaders, we think we need to have all the answers, and we need to be the one standing at the front of the room leading our troops into battle. And we need to have control over what's happening in our organization. And my story is about how sometimes that's just not possible. Sometimes unexplained and undeserved consequences and challenges get in our way. Challenges like the loss of a loved one or a sick child, challenges like divorce, and for me, the challenge was being diagnosed with cancer just a few months after becoming CEO of such a great organization. So let me hit the pause button here for just a minute and tell you a little bit about the YWCA so they have a little context for the story. The YWCA, not the YMCA. So no, we don't have health clubs for women. No, we don't have a song that's a cultural icon. But what we do have is great passion for our mission to eliminate racism and to empower women. As I was introduced, the speaker said, yes, we serve 138,000 people every year. We've been doing that for 135 years. We do that in 3 core lines of business. The first is economic empowerment. We help low-income women with life coaching, job training, financial skills. We have an early childhood services program in which we're helping working families pay for and find great child care. And we help people who provide child care run their businesses better. And we have a sexual violence program. That's us on the other end of the crisis hotline. We're in the schools teaching over 40,000 kids every year how to prevent violence and to be safe. And we provide counseling to adults and sadly to children who are the victims of a sexually violent crime. So we do that on a budget of $12 million a year, 75% of which comes from some government source, whether federal or state. And my background, 20 years in nonprofit management, and becoming the CEO of the YWCA was really the culmination of a life stream, of a 5-year career plan that I established for myself, and the culmination of a 2-year succession plan that my wonderful mentor and predecessor in the role and I crafted together. And so all that to say, I started the new job February 2nd, 2009, ready to take on the world, confident that I had the skills and the abilities to be successful. And as you can imagine, the story goes, everything crumbled around me. So the first bomb that dropped was the state of Illinois notifying us that they would be reducing their funding by 40% in the next 90 days. They're still going through the same economic crisis and we're still under the same gun, but we're getting better at it. The second bomb that dropped then was May 7th, 2009, in which that was the day I was diagnosed with cancer. So that 100-day action plan that I created the day that I started as CEO, and the team that I had assessed and figured out that I have the right people and the right seats on the bus, and that vision that I had crafted for the future of the organization and where I was going to drive it, none of that really mattered right then and there. So here I am, newly minted first-time CEO, dealing with not only my own mortality, but the mortality of an organization 135 years old. You know, it can't really get much worse than that. And frankly, having those 2 bombs drop at the same time was such a blessing. Each one helped me get through the initial shock of the other. I had 138,000 reasons why I had to get out of bed every day and leave behind the tears and the pity, the self-pity that you might imagine would accompany a diagnosis like cancer. And on the other hand, having cancer in the middle of an incredible professional challenge made it very, very clear for me what I needed to do each and every day. I had crystal clarity, and that was to take care of my health so that I could take care of my kids. It was very simple. So this is a time for me of incredible elation and happiness, and I made it, got to the top, and then real hard challenges. And so my first message to you all is to really explore who you are in times of crisis, to really give voice to that person, those natural skill sets that you call upon in times of crisis and in times of challenge. Because when you do name it, you'll be more ready to pull it out when you need it. I didn't really, frankly, know my best self in times of crisis until that day on May 7th. I have so many memories of that time in the doctor's office. I was sitting there, and the nurse walked in, and she had, at this point I didn't know I had cancer. I was confident I didn't. I was far too young, and I ate, I did all the right things. Anyway, the nurse walks in, and she's got such an incredible look of compassion and sympathy on her face. It really freaked me out. Well, the doctor walks in, and I don't remember what he says, some technical terms and so on and so forth. And so then the conversation shifted, and I think I freaked them out with my response, which is essentially something like this, which was, "Thank you, doctor, for telling me this terrible news in such a warm and compassionate way. I really appreciate it. But let's talk about our 100-day action plan, and let's talk about who's on the medical team, and were they the right people in the right seats on the bus, and how we were going to go forward in solving this problem." So now I'm able to really laugh about it and joke about it. But I really attribute that ability to problem solve like that to my very blue-collar mentality and Midwestern sensibility about how you solve problems. That's how I was raised. You tighten your boots, you pull the belt a little bit tighter, you buck up, and you go out there and you solve your own problems. That's inherently Midwest, right? Well, whether or not you share that approach to problem solving is not the point. The point is to really know what you call upon when you're in times of stress, because it will serve you well in the future. Well, the next 2 months are really a time of mobilizing and doing battle. I had surgery, began chemotherapy, and back in the office we created a plan to reduce our expenses and unfortunately eliminate 38 positions from within the organization. But we also had a plan to battle in Springfield to fight for our funding. And it's funny now when I look back on it, the striking similarities. I was literally carving out from my body and from the organization those things that weren't going to help either be successful in the long term. And through chemotherapy and through advocacy, I was fighting to restore health to myself and to the organization. So this also now leads me to a really important message for you all, and a really great learning for me. And that's what happens when you give yourself the freedom to stand shoulder to shoulder with the people on your team and the wonderful things that happen as a result. As I said, I wear a very blue collar when it comes to problem solving. It's very hard for me to ask for help. But there was no way that I was going to go through cancer by myself. I had to tell my board of directors and my staff that I was sick and that I needed their help. A very tough thing to do when you're brand new on the job. But of course, they were wonderfully generous. And in fact, that generosity fueled the growth and the strength of the organization just as I was getting weaker. Now, my vision of a CEO has always been someone who's larger than life, someone who leads the troop into battle and has fantastic answers to the toughest challenges. And that vision really crumbled when I was hospitalized and my staff was left to save the organization. That's when I really knew the power of asking for help and the real intuitive knowledge that CEOs and leaders need to know and have. When is it appropriate to stand in front of the team and lead them into the battle? When is it more appropriate to stand shoulder to shoulder with them? And when is it really appropriate to stand in the back of the line and lead from there? That was a real important moment for me. And so I want to share with you now my true breakthrough moment. I would imagine most of the speakers today, as I'm sort of telling a story, but I can actually name the exact time. But the day started October 13th, 2009. I was in my office at the corner of Michigan and Wacker. The door was closed and the lights off, and By now I had really lost all of my hair, either through pulling it out from the state budget stress or from the chemotherapy. It doesn't matter. The point is no hair. And I am laying on the floor in my office in the dark, incredibly sick after just finishing a round of chemotherapy. And I can remember laying there praying for the strength to get up off that floor and walk 3 blocks to the Hyatt Regency Hotel to join the board of directors and my colleagues at the YWCA's largest fundraising event of the year. Really important day, my first event, and important that it be successful. So my breakthrough moment happened as I approached that podium at 12:08 p.m., October 13th, 2009. And I was wearing a really cool gray fedora, and in doing so, really let 1,200 people, many of whom I'd never met before, know that I was sick, and that I wasn't feeling well, and that I needed their help just to get through my time at the podium. But it was in that moment that I realized the power of vulnerability, the power that comes from being authentic, because when you're authentic, your passion comes through. And it's that passion that connects people to you. It draws people to you. I made so many great personal and professional connections that day that continue to serve me so well. And so I really believe that being a CEO, a brand new CEO, helped me beat cancer. I had so many wonderful reasons to leave fear and worry behind, to focus on eating my vegetables and to get up and be stronger and to go to work. But I also think that having cancer made me a better CEO. I really came to appreciate and know who I am in times of stress. That helped me develop my emotional intelligence. I realized that as a leader, sometimes you have to ask for help. You have to lead from behind. And of course, I appreciated the incredible freedom that comes from being your authentic self in the workplace. You just have so much more meaningful and better connections with people. Now, I truly hope that you never have the opportunity to become a better entrepreneur or CEO by having cancer. Never want that to happen to you. But I guarantee you will have some professional or personal crisis in your life. And I hope that the story that I'm sharing with you today will resonate with you when you're facing that, and that you will give yourself the time now to think about who you are in times of crisis, because it's that knowledge that will come to the front. And it will be that knowledge that hopefully gives you the permission to ask for help, because you're the only one that's going to give yourself that permission. So have the permission to ask for help. And in doing that, you'll also give yourself an incredible gift. You'll give yourself the joy, the real joy that comes from empowering other people to succeed. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It's my pleasure. Thank you.